You guys ready? Okay, Iggy. Okay, go ahead.
We live or what?
You're live.
Okay. All right, once again, Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
And Shalom to the viewers that's on live stream. Shabbat Shalom. First, I want to go into a prayer. I want to go to the 51st Psalms. I want to read, let's read 7 verses from the first verse to the 7th verse. It reads, "Have mercy upon me, O Yahweh, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sins. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against thee, thee only have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. In the name of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, the water, Amen." Okay, the topic of this class is called the Kings of Judah and the Assyrians. Okay? Now, a lot of times, you know, we're going to do something a little bit different. A lot of times, we will go into America as Babylon. We will go into the future prophecies. We'll go into the spiritual aspects of teaching of faith. But we're going to deal with the Old Testament history. Okay, that's good to know as well. The Old Testament history. The kings of Judah, the kings of Israel. That's good to know of their wisdom and how they was operating and how they dealt with certain situations back at that time. Okay, so let's jump into it. Now I want to talk about the Assyrian kings. When you read the history about the Assyrian kings, they were brutal to their captives. You see, now Israel was the same way. See, when you read the book of the Kings, you had King David was giving orders to throw Edomites off cliffs. They were sawing them in half, and they was destroying every male of the Edomites. But the difference was that the Israelites, were King David, they was getting their orders from the Most High. See, now the heathen nation, they was getting orders from the Most High too, but a lot of times they overstepped certain boundaries, like the prophecy in Ezekiel when the Most High tell Esau that when their iniquity had an end, you step over your boundaries. It was a time that you supposed to have slowed that thing down, but you kept pursuing and destroying my people. So it's certain limitations and it's certain boundaries that you don't cross. Yes, all kingdoms, their armies were brutal to their captives, but the Assyrians, when you read about them, the Assyrians, when you read about them, it is said that they were bloodthirsty. They loved blood, brother. You know what I'm saying? They was brutal. And it also, I tell you what, write down the Assyrians, the appalling lords of torture. When you get time, Google that and look that up. The Assyrians, the appalling lords of torture, because their enemies, the nations, hated them. Because the Assyrians, they mastered torture techniques, and they boast about it. See, they mastered the torture techniques, and they boast about it, and they created tablets. They created tablets containing every single punishment the Assyrian army carried out. They had tablets, you know, to memorize, you know, in remembrance of their torture. And they advertised their brutality as part of a psychological warfare. Just like most battles are, like in Vietnam. When the brothers was in Vietnam, it was psychological warfare. The Vietnamese was on the microphone. Soul brother, black GI, this is not your war. Go home. This is not your battle. And the brothers that was over there fighting, it was a psychic thing. It was psychological warfare to them, because the Vietnamese was saying the way your people are treated in America and you over here fighting us. For what? It's a psychological warfare. You see that? And then they get on the mic and say somebody's going to die tonight. Just imagine hearing that all day and all night. Somebody's going to die tonight. Somebody's going to die. Now you got to go in the jungle, and now you got to make preparations and go out to battle. That's psychological warfare. And the Assyrians used that very well. Now, the Assyrians would force their captured nobles, the nobles of the nations, they would force them to grind the bones of their ancestors. Now, by them doing that, they erase their ancestors' evidence of their legitimacy to rule. That's psychological torture. And I know y'all looking at me saying, oh, this is Sabbath. Why are we going into all this torture? Because it's part of history. And it's good to know. Okay? It's good to know. Now, the Assyrians, they also beheaded. When they beheaded, they decapitated so many heads that they built pyramids out of the heads of the enemies that they decapitated. So many of them that they built pyramids out of the heads. Okay? Now, there was a Assyrian king by the name of Ashur-Nazarpal. Ashur-Nazarpal II, write down his years, from 883 to 859 BC. And I might be going a little bit fast, but you can go back and watch the show. There was another Assyrian king by the name of Ashur-Banipal. His time was 668 to 631 BC. These are approximate dates. Okay, so you can go look this up. Now, you can kind of see why Jonah, the prophet Jonah, didn't want to go into Nineveh to preach to the Assyrians. You can see why he fled, why he didn't want to go there. Because what the Assyrians did to the other nations, they did the same thing to the Israelites. And you can pull up artifacts, you know, pictures where they are destroying and torturing the Israelites. So, yeah, you see why Jonah didn't want to go there and preach to them. He said, yeah, Most High, bring judgment. Let them die. I don't want to go and preach to these people. You know, they might turn from their way. Jonah didn't want that. Jonah wanted them to pay. Jonah wanted them to be judged. You see that? So that's why Jonah fled. And you can see why. And we're going to go into pictures. We're going to go into some icons and show you the brutality of the Assyrians. Now, the Assyrians is still in existence today. They're not extinct. And when a lot of them hear this, they feel offended about the brutality of their history. Okay, but that's the history part. You got to go into the history. We as Israelites, we have to read about our history, what we did, and how the Most High punished and dealt with us. We have to read about those things. Okay? So, matter of fact, give me the picture of Ashur-Banipal, the lion hunt. Pull that up. You know, we're going to talk a little bit. I'm not going to get many scriptures. I'm going to give you some, but we're going to talk a little history a little bit in this class. Give me that Ashur-Banipal, the lion hunt. One, two, 1, 2. Is it coming? Okay. The lion hunt, Ashur-Banipal. It tells you that Ashur-Banipal and Ashur-Nazarpal were brutal Assyrian kings. And there were others, but these were two that was brutal. Okay, we're going to continue until the picture come up. There was a professor that was speaking and teaching, and he said that he met people from all over the world. And at his speaking engagement, a person came up and said to him, I am an Assyrian. I'm from H.O.D.C. Now, when y'all get time, y'all write that down. Write down ALGOSH. Write that down. And when you get time, look it up. Google that and look it up. The person came and said, I'm from Assyrian. I'm an Assyrian, and I'm from H.O.D.C. And looking it up, Al-Ghush is a town in the Nineveh plains of northern Iraq. The locals of Al-Ghush are Assyrians. And a lot of the Assyrians feel that they're getting a bad rap about the history and how some of the historians write about how brutal their history and their leadership was. You see that? So the Assyrians is still around today. You may have some in Iraq. You got a few in Iran. You have some in Syria, and you have some in Lebanon. So they are still there. If you would read about Saddam Hussein, now Saddam Hussein had a lot of love, and he looked up to a biblical figure. He looked up to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, because where's Iraq? It's the ancient Babylon. Because Saddam Hussein admired Nebuchadnezzar. And he also said that he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. And during Saddam Hussein excavations, he was, in his mind, he wanted to rebuild Babylon. And he said he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. What was one of Nebuchadnezzar's greatest feat? Taking down Israel, taking down Jerusalem. Saddam Hussein wanted to do the same thing. That's why he was shooting at Jerusalem with those missiles. And during his excavation, Saddam Hussein was rebuilding Iraq. He had bricks for building with his name on it. Saddam Hussein. He had a picture of himself next to Nebuchadnezzar. And he had plaques with his name, Saddam Hussein, the son of Nebuchadnezzar. See? So he really had love for Nebuchadnezzar. And that area that's over in the Middle East now has a lot of relics there. It has a lot of important relics. And when America went over there, it invaded Iraq. The first thing that they did, this is what I read, the first thing that they did was went into the Museum of Baghdad. And when they went there, they met some of the porters or the caretakers of the museum. They met those people and they escorted the soldiers. Now these military men wasn't just peons. They were top officials of the military. And they wanted to get there before any other military get there, before France, before Britain, before anybody else got there. That's why they went to that museum first, okay, before any other contact, because they was looking for something. Because Saddam Hussein, doing his excavations, he ran into he found something, some important relics. He found something. See, that's why they went in there, because Saddam Hussein didn't really have anything to do with 9/11. And they said, what, weapons of mass destruction. So when they went in, they went to the museum. And the caretakers took them down in a basement in the museum. And they started looking in these crates. Are we good? I'm going to get that when I finish. They started looking in the crates. And they found all these artifacts, with gold around it, silver around it, ancient artifacts, gold masks of kings. That's what they found, the military men. And then one of the caretakers took them through a back door. They went in this door, and all they saw was large wooden crates, looked like coffins. So when they went and they opened up those crates, and everybody, this is what I read, everybody looked like, oh, this is what we were looking for. So when they looked in it, they put the top on it, and the military men started taking those crates out, and they was flying them out. And all the artifacts, the first artifacts that they saw with the gold or trimming and the silver, which is worth a lot of money, they left those. But they was more concerned with those wooden crates that's in the back. See, because those wooden crates, from what I was reading, had a lot of information, and they was looking for the technology of the Tower of Babel. See, because the Tower of Babel, where Iraq was, the Tower of Babel was in that area. See, the ancient Babylonians was in that area, the ancient Babylon. See, that's why they was there. And also they was looking for the ancients of Nimrod. And it was also said that they was looking for the ancient of the Nephilims. They was looking for the DNA. You see that? They was looking for genetic information. They was looking for the keys. They was looking for the formula. See? And they flew that out, and they got that here. When you read in the scriptures where the armies are going to fight the Most High, okay, they're looking for something to create, to take on a battle with the Most High. See, what we do, we take this Bible, and our job is to put the Most High's word out, to put his vibration out. That's our job, brother. And then by us out there teaching and putting the vibration of the Most High out, the angels carry that, and they bring forth what? Prophecies. See, but a lot of us that's out there in the streets teaching, or that's sitting on the podiums teaching, been in this word, what, 50, 60, 70 years. But these nations and governments been dealing with this DNA, genetic information, research. They've been dealing with this for hundreds of years, from generation to generation. The political rulers been dealing with this for hundreds of years. See, so we're playing checkers while they playing chess. You see that? But the Most High is playing chess with them, and he checkmating them every time because he is the master chess player. You see that? So there's a lot of things going on that we really don't know and we really don't understand, but the Most High knows what's going on. All the secrets of darkness, the Most High know. The military, the leaders, the rulers, they know exactly what they are doing. They went in Iraq for a specific purpose, looking for the formula, the Tower of Babel, the Nephilims, the DNA, and the keys to power. That's what they're looking for, brothers and sisters. You see that? Now pull up that. This is the image of Ashurbanipal. This is called the lion's hunt. See how they hunt lions, fighting with lions and so forth? And they do this to show their authority and their power over world control. See, because the lion is what? King of the jungle. So symbolic, using that as the king of the jungle, using the lion, the Assyrians were depicting themselves as they are rulers and they hold authority over the world, over mankind. So they go out and shoot arrows at lions and attack lions with their bare hands. See that? That's an image of Ashurbanipal, the Assyrian king. See that bow? Look like the bow is going in the lion's head. See that? So that's what that represents. Okay, you can remove that and we would get some more later on in the class. You know, like I was saying, because of the Assyrians' brutality, Jonah didn't want no parts of going in Nineveh. He didn't care anything about them. But as a prophet, you got to do what you're ordered to do, whether if you like it or not. If the Most High tell you to go to the Edomites, these crackers, you got to go to them. If he tell you to go to the East Indians, the Arabs, you got to go to them. No, I don't want to go to no Ishmaelites. If the Most High order you, you got to go, regardless of how you feel. So Jonah had to put down his feelings, you know, when that whale got him and the Most High released him, he had to go and declare his mission, right? So now if you look at Jonah, Jonah was around and prophesied during the time of a king of Israel by the name of Jeroboam II. Now there was a Jeroboam I, okay, and there was a Jeroboam II. Now Jeroboam II years was 786 to 746 BC. And you got some dates of 793 to 753 BC, but I like to use 786 to 746 BC. Okay, and Jonah years was from 795 to 775 BC. Jonah prophesied in the time of Jeroboam II. And when you read about Jeroboam II, he was a part of the Jehu dynasty. You know, I know I'm going somewhere that we probably hadn't went over before, but I think we have. I think I've went over these classes before, right, Tyreek? I think I went into this here, so I think I gave y'all tests on this, right? It should be in y'all notes, right? So y'all better take notes because we're going to have a test in the steward class on what I'm teaching now, okay? Now, if you look at Jeroboam II, he's part of the Jehu dynasty. You got Jehu's son, Jehoahaz, you got Jehoash, and you got Jeroboam II, and then you got Zechariah. Those are four of Jehu's sons that sit on the throne. Now, the reason for that is the Most High promised Jehu that he would allow his descendants to sit on the thrones of 4 generations. That's called the Jehu dynasty. Now, give me some hands if you read the history of Jehu. Why did the Most High promise and give Jehu 4 generations to rule in the kingdom of the northern kingdom of Israel? Why did the Most High allow that? Because Jehu did something for the Most High, right? So what did Jehu do? Madeline had her hand up first, and then I'm going to come to you. You want to speak, or should I go to her? What happened? You remember that story? The prophet went in, and he anointed him, and the prophet was told, when you anoint him, flee, get up out of there. Okay, so after Jehu was anointed, what did he do? Because the people, this is how the people recognized Jehu, because he drove his chariot wild. When he came in the city, they said, oh man, that's Jehu, because the way he's driving his chariot. You know, like today, the way you driving your car, yeah, that's such and such. Music busting, you're doing the little spins and so forth. You're driving fast. Oh, that's, you know, that's us. That's such and such. So Jehu was known by the way he drove his chariot. Okay, real wild. But what did he do for the Most High? Now, Jehu was an evil king. Most of the kings of the northern kingdom was wicked. Now, you had some Judite kings, they was wicked, but Jehu was a wicked king, but he did the work of the Most High, and the Most High respected that and said, look, you're going to have 4 generations sitting on the throne. I'm going to allow that. Now, what did Jehu do as soon as he got anointed? What did he do? He killed Ahab, killed his sons, and he killed who? He came by Jezebel, and the eunuchs looked out. He said, look, throw her out the window. Threw her out the window, killed her. So he wiped out. See, there was prophecy being fulfilled because it was prophesied that Ahab's sons would be killed, would die, and Jezebel would be put to death. So Jehu fulfilled those prophecies. So when the Most High punished Jehu, he said, look, I'm going to give you this because you did do my biddings with Ahab and Jezebel, that wicked king and that wicked queen that brought wickedness in the northern kingdom of Israel. I'm going to let you have 4 sons, 4 generations to sit on the throne in the northern kingdom. Now, Jeroboam was one of those generations, was one of those sons. And Jonah had prophesied that in the time of Jeroboam II, that the northern kingdom would prosper. And it did. You can read that in the 2 Kings, that the northern kingdom prospered under Jeroboam II because the Assyrians were having internal warfare. and in their empire, and this allowed Jeroboam to capture places like Syria, to expand Israel borders. Now, when you read the scriptures is going to tell you that under Jeroboam II's rule, the Israel, the northern kingdom borders expanded, because at that time the Assyrians, they wasn't a threat to the Israelites. They wasn't a threat to Israel at that time, because that prophecy had to be fulfilled. But Israel to expand under Jeroboam, and for it to be peace at that time. And that was under Jeroboam the second. Okay? Now, pull up, okay, you got Sennacherib prison, right? I don't want that. Well, if you putting them up, I'll go on and go into them. If you can take it away and pull up something else. Get me the Assyrian king H.O.D.C III. The reason that I mention H.O.D.C III, because I believe, and from calculating the dates, I believe that he was the Assyrian king that was in Nineveh at the time of Jonah's preaching, because the scripture don't give you the name of that Assyrian king. Now, H.O.D.C III, his years was from 811 approximately to 783 BC. Now, Jeroboam II, you match his years with that and Jonah's years, it fits right into that. So that's why I say that H.O.D.C may have been that king of Nineveh. Now, H.O.D.C son, Shalmaneser IV, can fit in that too. His years was from 783 to 773 BC, approximately. And then after him was H.O.D.C III. His years was from 773 to 755 BC. So I wouldn't put him in that. It would be Shalmaneser IV and H.O.D.C III. But I'm looking more at H.O.D.C III because of this. H.O.D.C III, give me that picture, H.O.D.C. Okay, when he pulled that up, I'm going to show you what he was doing on, I think that's the Saaba stone. No, that's Sennacherib's prison. The Saaba stone, when he pulled that up, that's H.O.D.C is bowing down to different gods. But it say that it was during his 5th year. So that would probably be 80, 806 or something. But Jonah hadn't went into Nineveh then. See, the reason that I say H.O.D.C III might be that king of Nineveh that the scripture speaks about, that Jonah went to visit, because he was a monotheistic king, which means that he believed in one God. Now, the Syrians believed in many gods. Now, when he pull up that picture, you're going to see H.O.D.C bowing down to many gods. But after Jonah visited them, he became what? Monotheistic, believed in one God. And he called that God Nabu. And they said that the Most High is Nabu. They believed in that one God, and that was pushed throughout their empire. Okay? Are we good over there? Okay, so that's King H.O.D.C III. Okay? And Jonah fits right in with his dates, with his years. You see that, Tyreek? You're not writing anything down, you right? You gonna keep it in your head? Like I said, we're giving a test afterwards. I'm gonna test you. Okay, no, that's good if you can do that. Yeah. H.O.D.C 811 to 783 BC. 783 BC. Shalmaneser IV 783 to 773 BC. And Ashur-Dan III from 773 to 755 BC. Y'all got to watch the show. Like I said, H.O.D.C became a monotheistic king, and he believed in one God, and that was pushed through its empire. Now, Nabu was a Babylonian god, and the Assyrians adopted that too. Nabu was a god of wisdom. And we look at the Most High is all power. Most High is a God of wisdom. The Most High is a God of power, light, power. See that? So, like I said, the Assyrians, what that guy doing up there? The Assyrians is still around today. So we still waiting for the Sa'aba Stele. We still waiting for that, or the Sa'aba inscription. We're still waiting for that. Now, the Assyrians is still around today. Back in the 1970s, there were Assyrians, they all over, but there were Assyrians in 1970 that was in Chicago. And they came out of Iraq. They came out of those areas. Iran, they came out of Lebanon. And it was a gang in Chicago called the Almighty Assyrian Eagles. And then there was another gang called the Assyrian Kings. So the reason those gangs formed, because they were immigrants coming into the neighborhood, setting up their community, and they was being molested, attacked, taken advantage of. So the young people formed the gangs and start protecting them. So that's how the gang got started back in the 70s. The Assyrian gangs, the Almighty Assyrian Eagles. And then the Assyrian Kings. Okay, so they're still around. They're still around today. All right? Now, this right here, let me speak about this for a minute. You can leave that, but that's not what I want. This picture here is called what? Y'all should know what that is. When that's Jehu on his knees, the king of Israel. I just spoke about Jehu, right? That's Jehu bowing down to Shalmaneser III, the Assyrian king. You see, Jehu don't have his crown on. So Israel, they was wearing them bandanas, skull caps, and all that. So that's Jehu bowing down. This is called what? What was the obelisk name? What was it called when Jehu was bowing down to Shalmaneser, the Assyrian king? The who? No, it was called the Black Obelisk. Yep. Now get me the, I'm still waiting on the Sa'aba Stele. It's not coming up, it's trying to hide from us. It's up there, the Sa'aba Stele right there. See that you right there. See that you put that up. Because we did get the Black Obelisk. We did get that. We did get, the Black Obelisk where Jehu was bowing down to Shalmaneser III. We did get the lion hunt with Ashurbanipal. We did get that. Okay, but we're going to move on until he get that. Okay? Now, the Assyrian kings, we have spoke about Ashurbanipal, Adad-Nirari. Now, there's an Assyrian king, we're going to go into the scriptures, by the name of Tiglath-Pileser or Tiglath-Pileser. His years is 745 to 727 BC, approximate dates. You got that? Now, Tiglath-Pileser, he ended the period of stagnation with the Assyrian kings. And what he did, he introduced political and military reforms. He was brutal as well. So what he did, he brought the strength back to the Assyrian Empire. Now let's get your Bibles. Let's go to 2 Kings, the 15th chapter, and the 29th verse. 2 Kings, the 15th chapter, and the 29th verse. When you get that, Caleb, call it out, and let's read it.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 15 and verse 29.
Right.
In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came
Tiglath-Pileser.
Tiglath-Pileser,
Right?
king of Assyria,
Come on.
and took
Ijon.
Ijon and
Abel-Beth-Maacah.
Abel-Beth-Maacah,
Come on.
and Jonah,
Right?
and Kadesh,
Kadesh. Come on.
and Azor,
Hazor. Let's go.
and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria.
These are the Israelites. See, I just wanted to show you that Assyrian kings are mentioned in the scriptures. Tiglath-Pileser and Sennacherib is mentioned in the scriptures. And then when you read in Isaiah, there's another Assyrian king by the name of Sargon. He's mentioned in there by name. So you telling me the Bible is not a history book? The Bible is history. It go inside all the history that's out there. They got the relics. They got the artifacts. They got the steles, the stones. You see that? This is the Adad Nerari stele. This is the Saaba stele. If you can look a little closer, you will see an image of him offering to the gods. That was before Jonah. That was before Jonah went into Nineveh. He was bowing down to all different many gods. But after Jonah, he became what? Monotheistic, one God. See that? Because they called their God Nebu, or what they called the Most High Nebu. It's just like the Edomites. The Edomites had a god named the god Quo. They called the Most High Quo. That was their god, Quo. I did a class on that too. You remember that class, Elijah? Okay, all right. Okay, so let's move on. 2 Kings 15:29. We read that just to show you that Tiglath-Pileser is mentioned in the scriptures, an Assyrian king. Now let's jump from that. Let's speak about the king of Judah. Let's speak about King Ahaz. Now King Ahaz was whose father? Give me some hands. She running it, getting her notes. That's what you do. Get your notes. Who was it? Who? King Ahaz. Who was his son? Let me put it in another way. Who was King Ahaz's son? Now, King Ahaz was a wicked king, but his son was a righteous king. Who was his son? Hezekiah was a righteous king. You had quite a few righteous kings in Judah. You didn't have none in the northern kingdom of Israel. You had this, not one was right. But the Most High made them do his work, you know, his political work. The Most High made them do that by putting the spirit in them, but they was wicked. Okay? Now, King Ahaz, his time was 732 to 716 BC. King Ahaz, or Ahaz, 732 to 716 BC. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 28. We're going to deal with this guy for a while. King Ahaz. What's the difference between the book of Kings and the book of Chronicles when speaking about kings? What's the difference? No hands? The book of Kings only speak about what kings, northern or southern kingdom. Speak about northern and southern. But the book of Chronicles only speak about what kings? Kings of Judah. You read the Chronicles, it only speaks about the kings of Judah because Chronicles is a compilation of the book of Kings, right? Okay, so 2 Chronicles, the 28th chapter. Let's read that first verse.
This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 28 and verse 1. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign.
20 years old, young man. A young man, 20 years old, just coming to the throne. And he done seen the Assyrians trying to come into Judah. The Assyrians is affecting the northern kingdom. He 20 years old, he's seeing all this. 20 years old, read on.
And he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. But he did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord.
Okay, let's jump from there. Let's jump to the 5th verse.
Verse 5. Wherefore the Lord his God delivered him into the hand of the king of Syria, and they smote him.
They smote him.
They smote him and carried away a great multitude of them captives, and brought them to Damascus. And he was also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel, who smote him with a great slaughter.
With a great slaughter. So because of his wickedness, and he made the people to transgress too. So you got the king of Syria. You got the king of Assyria was Rezin at that time, Rezin. And you got Pekah of Israel, the northern kingdom. His brothers is coming up against him. Now I'm going to explain the politics of this. Why was the Assyrian king risen, and why was Pekah of the northern kingdom of Israel, why were they coming against King Ahaz? Yeah, they was coming against him because he was wicked, but the Most High threw something in there to make them come against him. See, he gave them that reason to make them come against him, and at the same time to punish him. Okay, let's explain it. At that time, you had the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian kings was ruling what was called the Levant. The Levant was like Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. So that whole area, Assyrian was controlling that. So now you had Egypt. Egypt wanted to go against Assyria, so they formed an alliance with the other nations. So you had Syria, and you had the king of Israel was part of that alliance, and they wanted Ahaz. They said, look, man, let's get this young 20-year-old king to join this alliance so we can fight against the Assyrians. But Ahaz refused. He didn't want to join the alliance. So now you see why the 5th verse, why Syria and the northern kingdom Israel is coming against Ahaz, because he did not want to join that alliance. But at the same time, they coming up against him to do the Most High's work against Ahab because of his wickedness. You see that? Prophecy being fulfilled, and for political reasons too. You see that, right? Okay, so that's that 5th verse. Because the Assyrians were powerful, and at the same time, Ahaz went and made an alliance with the Assyrians. See? Now, when y'all read all the Chronicles, when y'all read in the book of Kings, it'll tell you that Ahaz went into the temple. He started taking the gold off the poles, started going into the treasury, getting silver and gold, and presenting it to the king of Assyria so he can back him up and form an alliance with him in case of a battle. See, that's what they did back then. And if you read about Hezekiah, his son, Hezekiah did the same thing when Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, came up against him. He took the gold off the post and he paid tribute, because what was required throughout the whole Levant was tribute. They had to pay the king of Assyria to live, right? They had to pay in gold, and then sometime he would go and take bondmen and bondwomen. You see that? So now, let's read that 6th verse. Caleb, let's read the 6th verse, same chapter.
This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 28 and verse 6. For Pekah, the son of Remaliah, slew in Judah 120,000 in one day.
Now Pekah, the son of Remaliah, remember, Pekah is an Israelite. He's from the northern kingdom. And he's in alliance with the Syrians, and he's attacking his own brothers, the southern kingdom of Judah. See, it said that he slew in that day 120,000 in one day. Read on.
Which were all valiant men.
And they wasn't no soft guys. These was all valiant, mighty men. Read.
Because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers.
So the Most High used Pekah to do this. And then at the same time, see, Pekah don't know why he's doing it. You get me? Pekah's just coming in thinking that he's destroying this because Ahaz don't want to join the alliance. But the Most High is sending them there because what? The wickedness of Ahaz. See, Pekah and the Syrian king don't know that they're being used. And the Most High is going to flip it and get at them too. Read on.
And Zechariah, a mighty man of Ephraim.
You see that, Yashalabah? Yeah. This all the Most High's chess move. You see that? The master chess player, the master of the chessboard, that's the Most High. The Most High gets you either way he want to get you, brother. Politics, or when you mess up, he will send nations at you. It would be like on a political level, and it would also be fulfilling his prophecy, fulfilling his promise too, to get at you. See, but Pekah don't know why. The Syrian king don't know why. I mean, not the Assyrian king. The Syria king, risen, don't know why. Come on, read on.
Verse 7. And Zechariah, a mighty man of Ephraim.
Zechariah.
How you pronounce it, sir?
Zechariah.
Zechariah.
Right.
And Zechariah, a mighty man of Ephraim.
You see that? That northern kingdom, they had the other tribes, they had a lot of the Ephraimites were mighty men in that northern kingdom. The first king, Jeroboam, was Ephraimite. Jeroboam the first. Read on.
Slew Manasseh,
come on,
the king's son.
See, they taking out Hazael's son now. You know, taking out that royal lineage. Read on.
And as Azrikam,
come on,
the governor of the house, and Elkanah, that was next to the king.
Right. So now, what did the northern kingdom do? What did Pekah do? Read the next verse.
And the children of Israel carried away captives of their brethren 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and took also away much spoil from them, and brought the spoil to Samaria.
So the northern kingdom is taking the southern kingdom into captivity. You see that? Your brothers, these 12 tribes. You see they life? See how we can be brutal to one another? See that? And we still do the same thing today. I mean, we don't take one another in captivity, but we do different tribes. You know, we do go into this little tribal thing. So the northern kingdom took the southern kingdom, took the sons, the women, the children, took their spoil. They was taking it to what? Their capital, which was what? Samaria. But guess what the Most High did? The Most High had a prophet there waiting on them. The prophet name was Obed. He was there waiting, said, look, he was waiting at the gates of Samaria. He said, no, stop. These are your brothers. Look, take them back to Jerusalem. Take them back to their land. You're not going to do this. Now, if it was somebody from another nation, you probably would have let that happen. But when we read on, we're going to read and show you what the northern kingdom men did. They listened to the prophet. They fed the southern kingdom, and they anointed them. Usually, you don't anoint your enemies. But they were a part of the nation of Israel. So this is what happened. Read on the 9th verse.
Verse 9. But a prophet of the Lord was there, whose name was Obed.
Read.
And he went out before the host that came to Samaria, and said unto them,
come on,
behold, because the Lord God of our fathers was wroth with Judah, he had delivered them into your hands.
So now he have to explain to Pekah, not because you're a tough guy, because Ahaz and because Judah was wicked in the Most High's sight. That's why he was delivered into your hand. Not because he didn't partake in that alliance. It's the Most High's dealing now. Now it's being explained to him why now. Okay, read on.
And he have slain them in a rage that reacheth up into heaven.
Now listen to what he gonna tell the northern kingdom. He gonna check them too. Read on.
And now ye purpose to keep under the children of Judah and Jerusalem for bondman and bondwoman unto you. But are there not with you, even with you, sins against the Lord your God?
So the prophet is saying, look, the southern kingdom of Judah have sinned. look, y'all better be careful what y'all doing by bringing them captives into Samaria and robbing them. Your sins have reached heaven too. Y'all not perfect. You wicked too. You're going to be judged too. So y'all better watch yourself. Now let's see what the captain said. Read on.
Now hear me therefore, and deliver the captives again, which ye have taken captive of your brethren. For the fierce wrath of the Lord is upon you. Then certain of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Azariah the son of
I'll tell you what, jump to the 15th verse. After they listened to what the prophet Obed was telling them, they kind of held a little council. And they came to their senses like, look, the prophet is right. You know, let's send them back, let's clothe them, let's feed them, let's send them back to Jerusalem. Read the 15th verse.
Verse 15. And the men which were expressed by name rose up, and took the captives, and with the spoil clothed all that were naked among them.
Okay, this is their family, this is their brothers. They clothed all they was naked. Read on.
And arrayed them, and shod them, and gave them to eat and to drink, and anointed them.
And they fed them, they clothed them, they fed them, and they anointed them. Read on.
And carried all the feebles of them upon asses.
Read.
And brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, to their brethren. Then they returned to Samaria.
Okay, so these were their brothers. They weren't their enemies because they anointed them. They fed them, clothed them, and then at the end, they anointed them and then sent them back to Jerusalem. These are your brothers. You don't carry your brother captives. So from here, let's go. Before we do that, this war was called when the Syrians merged with the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom was called the Ephraimite kingdom. And this war was called the Syro-Ephraimite War. The Syrian Ephraimite War. Because the northern kingdom was called the Ephraimite kingdom as well. The northern kingdom. It was called the Syro-Ephraimite War. Now let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah the 7th chapter and the 3rd verse.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 7 and verse 3. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Sennacherib thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper spoil, of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field.
Read that again. Now, the Most High is commissioning the prophet Isaiah to go to Ahaz because Ahaz know he has a problem. It is a war coming to it. So read that again.
Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Sennacherib thy son.
Shir-Jashub thy son.
Wow. Shir-Zachar.
Sennacherib is an Assyrian. Read on.
At the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field.
The fuller's field. Now, the prophet Isaiah is going to meet Ahaz. Now, why was Ahaz at the conduit? Why was he there? I mean, he could have been anywhere else. Could have been in his house. So why was he at the conduit? It's politics now. Remember, it's a war going on. Why was he at the conduit? That's where the prophet Isaiah found him. Because if a war, now in Ahaz's mind, he's getting ready to be attacked. It's a war going on. Okay, now we're in the book of Isaiah now. Okay, remember when Isaiah first came to Ahaz? Y'all have to read that. The prophet Isaiah was just starting out his commission. And Ahaz was young, he was 20. So the prophet Isaiah was just starting out young too. So when the prophet Isaiah came to Ahaz, he spoke in the name of the Most High. He said, What sign shall I show you? Remember that? Y'all remember reading that in the book of Isaiah, the 7th chapter. And then the sign was the virgin Emmanuel. And then you read on down, it spoke about Isaiah's son and so forth. Those were signs too, which meant something. But don't you know, Ahaz didn't ask for a sign? He gave the opportunity again. What sign should the Most High show you? So Isaiah said, well, I'm going to give you a sign. He never asked for a sign. But the reason he was at the conduit is because he was taking care of the water supply. Because he was getting ready to battle the enemy. So, yeah, when you get into a battle, you got to make sure you got food inside your gates, water. He was making sure the water supply was secure for the inside, for the people in the inside. And the outside, he wanted to secure that so the enemy won't take the water or tamper with the water. He wanted to make sure the whole water supply, the conduit, is secure just in case they get into a battle or the enemy camp around the gates of the city. They got water inside. They got food inside. See, you would always want to make preparations before you battle. You always want to prepare. Definitely got to have water. Even if you don't have food, you best to have that water, right? So that's where the prophet Isaiah met him in Isaiah 7:3. At the conduit, he was making preparations to prepare that water supply, to secure that, so they'll have water for the people inside the gates. Okay, now let's talk about Hezekiah, Ahaz's son. Now, Hezekiah's years was 715 to 686 BC. And Hezekiah's battle was with the Assyrian king by the name of Sennacherib. Sennacherib's years was from 705 to 681 BC. Can you pull up the Sennacherib prison, the annals of Sennacherib? Oh, you getting them now? Yeah, that's good. That's it right there. That's the annals of the Assyrian king Sennacherib. Now, they translated what's written on them, and I'm gonna read some of what was translated. Y'all know the story about Sennacherib when he started threatening Jerusalem? We gave tests on that. Y'all know the story about an angel destroyed about 850-some thousand of them, the Assyrians? Right. How much? 185? And I had put the numbers way up there, huh? Okay, y'all never read that? When the word got back, when Sennacherib started threatening Judah, the word got back. Isaiah the prophet came to King Hezekiah. And Isaiah the prophet delivered this message. And he said, the Most High said that there shall not an arrow be shot in this land. And the Most High defended the land. Now, there are two times that the Most High defended Jerusalem. The Most High himself defended Jerusalem. He defended it when Sennacherib tried to invade it, and he's going to defend it in the future. Y'all know how he's going to defend it in the future? It's in Revelation. We're going to get it. See, the Most High himself is going to defend Jerusalem in the future, and the Most High himself defended Jerusalem during Hezekiah's time. He used an angel. See? Now, reading the history, Sennacherib was on his warpath to Jerusalem. He had already took the Judaic city Lachish. He had took 46 cities, small villages, and he made his way to Jerusalem, and he stood out at the gates with his ambassadors. You might have read about him, Rabshakeh. You remember when when Hezekiah sent his ambassadors out talking to the Assyrians? They said, speak to us in your language, we understand that. Don't speak to us in our language. Y'all remember that story? So Rabshakeh started threatening Hezekiah and started speaking down on the Most High. He even said, look, I would give you so many thousands of horses if you got enough men to put them on. Saying that you ain't got nobody to fight me. And also the Assyrians said, your God sent me in here. You going to trust in the Egyptians? Or you going to trust in your king, or you going to trust in your God? You got to honor my master, who the master was the Assyrian king Sennacherib at that time. Okay, let's jump into the scriptures now. Now this is, oh, you done jump from that? Yeah, put back up Sennacherib's prison. The annals, that's it. Leave it right there. Let me read what they translated. This is Sennacherib, because all the kings, they wrote down their battle history. If they took a nation, they wrote that down. And they got it in the museums today. You know, the museums in Chicago, or British Museum. They got it out there today, brother. So this is what Sennacherib wrote in Sennacherib prisons. His annals. He's speaking now. It said, as to Hezekiah, the Jew, he did not submit to my yoke, but Hezekiah was paying him money to keep him at bay, but he wanted more. But Sennacherib never entered Jerusalem. He never took Jerusalem. See? It said, as to Hezekiah, the Jew, he did not submit to my yoke. I laid siege to 46 of his strong cities, walled forts, and to the countless small villages in their vicinity, and conquered them by means of well-stamped earth ramps and battering rams, brought thus near to the walls, combined with the attack by foot soldiers, using mines, breaches, as well as trenches. Hezekiah himself I made a prisoner in Jerusalem. That's when they encamped around Jerusalem, when you read the scriptures. And Hezekiah couldn't come out. You know, he couldn't go back and forth. So he was like trapped inside the city. But they never came in and attacked the city, see? He reads, Hezekiah himself I made a prisoner in Jerusalem, his royal residence like a bird in a cage. I surrounded him with earthwork in order to molest those who were leaving his city gate. Thus I reduced his country, but I still increased the tribute. See, he still increased the monies that Hezekiah was paying him. I still increased the tribute and the presents due to me as his overlord to be delivered annually. See, he still had to pay that tribute. See, he considered himself as Hezekiah's overlord. See, so let's jump into the scriptures, and I'm going to show you the 2 times that the Most High defended Jerusalem. He didn't need an army. The Most High defended Jerusalem himself. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 37th chapter, where we already there. Let's go to the 37th chapter. 37th chapter, Caleb, I want you to read from the 33rd verse to the 38th.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 37 and verse 33.
Come on.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city.
Now, who said that?
Lord.
The Most High said, therefore, thus saith the Most High concerning the king of Assyria. Read on it. This is King Sennacherib. Read on.
Ye shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a blank against it.
Come on.
But by the way that he came, by the same shall ye return,
Okay, come on.
and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord.
Saith the Most High. Read on.
For I will defend this city to save it from mine own sake.
For my own sake. So the Most High said he would defend the city and save it for what? Not for Israel, not for Judah, but for his own sake. That's why the Most High speak about his name. He said, for my name, Israel, my people defiled my name amongst the Gentiles, but I would defend my name. Read on.
And for my servant David's sake.
Right.
Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of Assyrians 185,000.
That's what Mike said. Read on.
And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
Read.
So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed, and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh.
Nineveh, the same place the prophet Jonah was at, prophesied. Read on.
And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nerosh, his god, that
Adremelech
and
Sharazar
and Sharazar, his son,
or
smote
Sharezer. Come on.
smote him with the sword.
With the sword. He's in his house worshiping his god Nisroch, and his sons took him out. You know, that was a power trip right there. Read on.
And they escaped into the land of Armenia.
Armenia, come on.
And
Esarhaddon,
Esarhaddon, his
right,
son, reigned in his
reigned
stead.
in his stead. So his son, reading the history, his son, Esarhaddon, chased him down, went looking for these guys. These are his brothers now. Now the same Esarhaddon is the same Assyrian king that put Hezekiah's son, King Manasseh, that locked him up in a Babylonian prison. Because remember, when the Assyrians were in power, they was over Assyria and Babylon. Okay, they was controlling that area too. So Esarhaddon locked up the king Manasseh because of his wickedness, locked him up in prison in Babylon. And when you read in the Apocrypha, the prayer of Manasseh, he was praying from that prison, and that's what that prayer is about. And the Most High let him out of prison and sent him back to Jerusalem, and he sat back up on the throne, and he ruled 55 years. Now he ruled, we always say this, right? He ruled longer than any Israelite king of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, 55 years, and he was the most wickedest. Now, did he get right when he was in prison and came back and sat on the throne? And that's when his years added up? Maybe. But when he got out of prison and when he sat back up on his throne, he had did so much damage to the kingdom that it was hard to fix. So he was trying to fix it, but look, bro, you had incorporated worshiping gods, sacrificing your own children to Molech, going up in the high places to Balaam. You incorporated all of that. Sodomites and everything, man. So now the people, they done got addicted and they used to this type of lifestyle. So when he was in prison, they were just going all out, man. So now he's back. Now to correct that, it's kind of hard. It's like your children. You just let them get away with doing everything and you never put that rod on them. And then when you decide to do that, well, they about 16, 17, what 14 and 15 now. They kind of getting their own mindset now. The damage is done now. You didn't start it when they was young. Now they 14, they in the double digits now. They want to hang out. They want to get with the crew. They want to do what they want to do, getting the mind of develop of their own now. So it's hard to bring discipline. So that's what happened to King Manasseh. It was hard to bring the discipline. It was hard to correct a lot of that damage that was done. And when you read about Hezekiah, that was before Manasseh. Hezekiah was cleaning up what his father Ahaz had done. Ahaz was was sacrificing his own children, like his grandson Manasseh. He was worshiping up in high places. He even worshiped one of the, I believe it was the gods of Damascus, because they came up against him. And he said, well, if they come up against me and defeat me, maybe their gods are mightier than mine. Let me take their gods and worship it, being simple. But Ahaz did a lot of dirt in the kingdom of Judah too. So when Hezekiah started ruling, Hezekiah, it tell you that he was taking down the high places and he was trying to implement and institute the right thing to do in the kingdom. But it was just so much. That's when the prophet Isaiah came to Hezekiah and told him, look, get your house in order. It's get ready to die. Y'all remember that story? And Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and he started crying, right? He felt, look, I'm not ready to leave. It wasn't that he was afraid to die, because he understood death. He understood the spiritual realm. He understood the souls and where the spirit resides. He knew all that. He understood that. He turned and faced the wall and began to cry, because he wasn't finishing cleaning up that empire. It was still, he felt that he hadn't done enough. It's still more work that I want to do, Lord. Give me some more time. So the prophet Isaiah went and inquired to the Most High. The Most High said, look, give him 15 more years. Now, if that was you, wouldn't you just rather just go ahead and die? Now you know you're going to die in 15 years. See, but Hezekiah understood that too. See, like I said, he understood life and death. He understood the spirit realm. So it didn't matter. Okay, let me put in some work and get this thing clean up, get this kingdom clean. Most High gave me 15 years. Let me do right. But he messed up along the way. Do anybody remember from your reading? What was his biggest mistake that he made? Now, as he got a little older, now sometimes leaders have advisors. Sometimes the advisors of the kings can, they get a little older, they can kind of be led the wrong way, like King Solomon. He got older, women took advantage of him. But some of the kings can get a little older, and their decision making, their advisors can manipulate certain things. See? So Hezekiah got a little older. Now, what was his mistake? Madeline, you had your hand up, right? What mistake did he make? You think. There you go. Yeah, his armory, his treasury, everything, to who? To the Babylonians. Because when he got sick, I believe this Babylonian king, Baladan, I think it was the Babylonian king Baladan, sent some ambassadors to check up on him and to wish him well. And he took him inside and showed him all his treasure, showed him all his weaponry. He didn't supposed to do that. Being a nice guy. So the Most High sent the prophet Isaiah. Y'all better read that. It's in the book of Kings and the book of Isaiah. Y'all better read that history. The Most High sent the prophet Isaiah to him. Isaiah said, who are these men? Hezekiah tell him, he said, what did they want? He told him that too. What did you show them in your kingdom? Well, I showed them this and that. He said, man, you shouldn't have showed them that, brother. And he said, the Most High have said this, thus saith the Lord, all that you have shown the Babylonians in such and such time, they're going to come and take this with them to Babylon, and they're going to take your sons and they're going to be eunuchs in the kingdom of Babylon. See, that was a prophecy. And that happened when? When the Babylonians came in. When did that happen? Give me, come on, Madeline, give me some dates now. What year did that happen? Give me the beginning date and give me the final date when they totally destroyed Jerusalem. Give me the beginning of the date when Ezekiel and when Daniel went with the Babylonians into captivity. Come on, Mike. Who? I'm saying when they came in Jerusalem, not during the Persians and Medes. 586. 586 BC. That was the final straw right there. But the beginning of it was around 606, 605 BC when Daniel and Ezekiel, you know, the nobles went first. See, that was the beginning of it. And that prophecy came to pass. I mean, but it really wasn't what, part of it was what Hezekiah did, but the handwriting was already written. It was already on the wall, what Manasseh did. See? Okay, from Hezekiah, then his son Manasseh just took it all the way out. But it started with Hezekiah. I mean, you could say that it started with Ahaz. But what Hezekiah did, showing the Babylonians his equipment, his house, his treasury, you don't never show your enemy your weaponry. Never show them your money either. I mean, unless you're doing business with them, but don't take them and show them all your treasury. Look, this is my bank. 39th chapter. Okay, y'all write that down and y'all read it. You know, that's some good history. Okay, now we're going to jump back and we're going to read. We finished Isaiah 37, 33 to 38, that the Most High protected Jerusalem by an angel destroying the Assyrian army. Okay, let's go to Revelation 20. Revelation 20, and Caleb read verses 9 to 10.
This is the book of Revelations, chapter 20 and verse 9.
Hold on for a minute. Yahweh, this is our last pick. Get me the picture of Hezekiah's royal seal, Hezekiah's bulla. Get me that, and we're going to work on this. Come on, Caleb. Revelation 20 chapter from the 9th verse to the 10th verse.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about.
Okay.
And the beloved city.
What's the beloved city? Jerusalem. Come on.
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them.
Fire came down from the Most High. Read on.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophets are and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
So the Most High defended Jerusalem in the future. He will do it in the future. And he defended Jerusalem back at Hezekiah's time. See? By using an angel. You have that. Can you make it bigger? You can't make it bigger? Okay, kind of blow it up a little bit. And we're going to get a few more picks, and we're going to be, and I think we're going to be done. See that? This is a clay stamp, a royal seal by the king of Judah by the name of Hezekiah. Now, if you look at that, you looking, let me see, I see the Hebrew, I see that on there. Now what is that thing with the wings? It's a little beetle up at the top. Why is the ankh there? Was King Hezekiah wearing the ankh? Since we see this, can we wear the ankh? Can I come in next week with the ankh around my neck? Why can't I do that, man? My King Hezekiah had a seal with the ankh on it. Why can't I do that? Okay. If you look at it, can you see it good, Mike? You got it? Okay. If you look at it, there was Hezekiah's stamp. That was his seal. You see right in the middle, that's the sun disk. And you see the wings on it. You see that, right? And right over to the right is the ankh. It's a sun disk depicting a two-winged sun disk, and the ankh with the inscription that reads. Now, when you read that, it reads, "Belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. Okay? See, and you see the little beetle up there. See, these are all like idol worship instruments. The beetle and the sun disk with wings. These are symbols that's found throughout the Egyptian, the Assyrian, the Persian, and the Ptolemaic icons. They was using this back at that time. Okay, and you see the Egyptian Ankh is the symbol of life, and it's the symbol of breath of life. The symbol of life, breath of life. Now, y'all wondering why is, if Hezekiah was a good king, you shaking your head, right, Mike? Well, yeah, tell me, Arch, what is he doing with that? What is he doing? Well, remember, when we go back into the scriptures, remember the Assyrians was controlling the Levant. They was controlling the area, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria. They had control of all that area. And Hezekiah felt he was being threatened, felt that he need to ally with somebody, make an alliance. Remember, there are scriptures where the Most High said, don't go back down to Egypt, leave the Egyptians alone. The Israelites kept going back down to Egypt, safe haven, and they kept making an alliance with the Egyptians. So Hezekiah made an alliance with the Egyptians. Remember when Sennacherib, I keep saying remember, I'm trying to get y'all to read these stories, man. Now, when Sennacherib started attacking Hezekiah, king of Judah, he made an alliance with Egypt for protection. That's what you have, like gangs do that. You know, if they low in numbers, they make an alliance with two other gangs, and it can be 3 gangs that come together. They have an alliance. Just say, I got a gang, Osh, Caleb got one, Tyreek got one. We can call it what the ACTs, the Axe. See, the Axe gang, the Osh. No, I think I got that. Yeah, C, the Caleb, right? And then the T, Tyreek, right? The Act gang. So we in alliance, when we write that up on the wall, the Act, everybody know that's Osh, Caleb, and Tyreek with their army, with their crew. So we can match any bigger clique, any bigger gang. So that's the mindset of the kings. When they make an alliance, they can match the large Assyrian army, because Assyrian have nations that's connected with them too, that they have taken down, and they paying respect and tribute, paying them off too. See, so Hezekiah made an alliance with the Egyptians. So not saying that Hezekiah was bowing down or worshiping that. Now, his thing was he probably was just using that seal anytime that he dealt with the Egyptians. Okay, it wasn't like a royal seal that, I'm just speaking as a man, that he could have just used that as when he's dealing with the Egyptians. Put that on a stamp, send it out to the Egyptians. Political, you're right, Elijah. It's all political. See, because sometimes the kings operated that way when they were in alliance with another nation. You got something to say on a bit? Oh, yeah, come on.
Yeah. There's the Hebrew.
Yeah.
There too, right?
Yeah.
And there's another H.O.D.C.
Yeah.
See, even the Israelites using the Egyptian symbol, the Ankh. Using the Egyptian symbol, the Ankh.
Okay, they use, okay.
They use that to highlight, to say Israel, but then in one breath they say Israel never existed.
There you go.
If we never existed, how come we're using that and had the seal?
Right.
You see how they contradict themselves in our line?
Right.
So he used that to say, look, see the Ankh, even you Israelites was using it, but he forgot to say those teaching that Israel never existed.
Right, there you go.
Understand?
See, you're right,
So
baby.
that's the proof right there. They always trying to lie, but then they get busted in the lie.
They get caught in it, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the history showing you that the Bible has a lot of proof, authentic. It's history, and I know some people, if you don't love to read the book, man, if you don't love it, you won't get anything out of it. You won't match this history, because sometimes you be reading this history, man, sometimes things to get all twisted up. You're like, man, shoot, that's talking about the same, man, it's contradictory. No, it's not. You got to fight with it. You got to wrestle with this book, man. You got to make the pages tap out. You don't tap out, you stay with it. See, just like Ben said, man. I mean, this is not saying that Hezekiah was worshiping, because in the Hebrew, I just read it say in the Hebrew, it said belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. If he was bowing down and worshiping this Egyptology stuff, it would have said belonging to Hezekiah Ra or Hezekiah Amon Ra. But it said Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. It's just like Elijah was saying, it's all political. It's a political seal when he dealing with the Egyptians. And maybe this was passed, probably some of this was passed from his father Ahaz, because he was making alliances. See, if you're gonna half step with the Most High, you better make an alliance. If you're not gonna make an alliance, you better put your all trust in the Most High, like certain kings did. Now King David had alliances, man, but it was like business levels. Solomon had it. Solomon's name mean what? Peace. That's why when he messed up with the Most High, nations started attacking him. But during his reign, before he messed up, it was just business. The Queen of Sheba came. Oh, I heard about you. She was giving him gifts and presents and stuff. All the kings, because he had, I think he had all the king's daughters, I guess. Edom, Moab, he had all of them. So Solomon didn't have to rumble, because his dad and his dad men like Joab, Abishai, Benaniah, all those cats put in the work for him. But when he messed up, the Most High unleashed the enemies at him. The first enemy was the Edomite, Hadad. And Hadad had fled to Egypt. And when he heard, the news gonna get around, man. This is a little small world, man. The clouds talk. The atmosphere talk, brother. Yeah. Solomon died. Yeah, Solomon died. He said, yeah, let me strap up. And the king of Egypt said, what you found faults in me? I mean, I don't have enough to give you. I mean, I can give you what's in this kingdom. He said, no, I got something else to do. I got to go back and get what was taken from my father, from my ancestors, from what King Solomon got. Because the nations feared King David. They feared Joab. They feared them guys, brother. Like I was saying before my class started, King David took the Edomites and threw them off the cliffs. They were sawing them up, breaking them up. They was cutting off. Joab went from city to city, Edomites, cutting off the males that's in them cities. And they was called Mount Seir too. It tell you that he cut off Mount Seir. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. See there? So when Solomon messed up, the Edomite, Hadad, said, let me strap up. Let me build me an army. I'm going to attack Solomon now, because I ain't got to worry about King David. Joab is dead. Abishai is dead. Abner's not there. Let me go and get back my father's land. Just like them Chinese pictures. You killed my teacher. They would go to sleep and wake up, and it'd take about 30 years. They gonna come and get you. I'm coming to see you. Killed my teacher. They remember that badness, man. Yeah, come on, Ben. Put that mic on.
I gotta say this because Israel, boy. Right? Like when Israel was turning them off the cliffs too, right?
Yeah.
You probably had Israelites say, let's see if that nigga has some wings. Let's see if he can fly.
Yeah.
Let's see how he's going to drop. Let's see if he can bust
Yeah.
him to pieces.
Yeah.
He was turning them off the top of the highest mountain, man.
That's it, yeah.
So Israel making jokes. Let's
Breaking
see if that
them up,
nigga
man.
can fly. Yeah.
They was hitting the ground sounding like watermelons, man. Yeah. See, that was an army like I spoke about the Assyrians. They understood life and death. They understood about the soul. They understood where the spirit went. The King David and them, they righteously understood where the spirit went after death. So there was no fear in death with them when they went to war, because they went to war. They didn't go to war like what we do today. They don't go to war to get a street corner. They don't go to war to get that block of one neighborhood. They don't go to war like going over in the Middle East. They warring for their nation, for their people. See, and they warring for their God. So they know if it's all right with God, it's all right with me. Am I going to lose any sleep? If God ain't losing none, I'm not losing none. Am I going to eat well? Yes, I am. Yeah, because it works from the Most High. But if you're wrong, if you're Israelite under King David, if you're wrong, if you're wicked, you better believe you're going to have some problems. You're going to have some thoughts. What if? See that? But this just to show you that just a seal of Hezekiah. And let me show you something. Let's go to 2 Kings 18:21 to show you the type of man Hezekiah was. That, yeah, he had the ankh, but, you know, he didn't worship that. He didn't go off. The time he went off was when he let them Babylonians in his house and, you know, showed him everything, showed him his armory, showed him his treasures. That's where he went off. 2 Kings 18:21.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 18 and verse 21. Now, behold, thou trustest upon the staff of this buried reed, even upon Egypt.
Okay,
on which,
right. See, now I'm pulling this scripture that's to show you that Hezekiah was in alliance with the Egyptians, and the king of Assyria is kind of boasting, said, man, you going to trust in this old reed here, the Egyptians for help? You trusting in these? Read on.
On which if a man lean, it will go into his hand.
Come on.
And pierce it.
Read.
So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, unto all that trust
in him. So the Assyrian is making mockery. You trust in any Egyptian? They weak, man. You made an alliance with, Judah made an alliance with the Egyptians? That's weak. The Pharaoh? Now, from here, let's go. We in 18. Let's read the first verse. Same chapter.
First verse.
Right.
Now it came to pass.
18:1. Come on.
Now it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hosea, son of Elah, king of Israel.
Come on.
That Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign.
Let's go.
25 years old was when he began to reign.
Mm-hmm.
And he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Abi.
Come on.
The daughter of Zechariah.
Let's go.
And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord.
He did that which was what?
Right in the sight of the Lord.
We hardly ever hear that from kings, right? He did what was right. And you had maybe about 8 or 9, I think about 8 good kings of Judah. The rest of them followed the kings of Israel. You had none of the kings of Israel, man. Read on.
According to all that David his father did.
Come on.
He removed the high places.
Now Hezekiah, he did what? Removed the high places. So did he get into any worshiping of this right here, this seal? No, this is what he did. Read on.
And break the images.
And break the images. Read on.
And cut down the groves.
And cut down the groves. Read.
And break in pieces the brazen serpent.
The brazen serpent.
The brazen serpent that Moses had made. Because
in the days the children of Israel did what with it? Read on.
For unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it.
To it. Man, Israel will worship anything, man. Come on, you know the same serpent that Moses held, you know, which was a representation of Yahushua. Yeah, they didn't even want to look. No, I ain't gonna look. Come on, you want to live, right? Hey, yeah, but I ain't, you know. Read on.
And he called it
Nehushtan. Okay, so now from here, like I was saying, you can take this seal and 5th verse. Come on.
Verse 5.
Right, Ben. Right.
He trusted in the Lord God of Israel.
I want to go all the way to the 7th verse. Come on.
So that after him was none like him among all the kings of Judah, nor any that were before him.
Now, it said none that was like him before or after. So Hezekiah wore the ankh. He worshiped the sun god. Now, the scripture's saying different, man. It was all politics here. Yeah, read on.
Verse 6. For he cleaved to the Lord.
He cleaved to the Most High. Read.
And departed not from following him, but kept his commandments, which the Lord commanded Moses.
Thou shalt have no other what? Gods. It said he kept the commandments, right? Read on.
And the Lord was with him, and he prospered wheresoever he went forth. And he rebelled against the king of Assyria, and served him not.
And served him not. See, he didn't do like the, he gave him a little money here and there, tribute, but he didn't do like these other kings, man. He said, no, I ain't making no alliance, but he had already had that alliance going with Egypt as well. And when the Babylonians came, he showed them everything, kind of slipping a little bit. But later on in Israel, the Israelites did begin to sun worship in Jerusalem. We're going to get that too. But you can take this bulla, you can look at the sun. I mean, you can look at, hey, the scripture speaks about the Most High as the sun, and then the wings, it speaks about the Most High carried us on the wings. Okay, so don't use that, but I'm just saying, don't try to make it right. But there was Hezekiah's seal. No, he didn't wear the ankh. And he didn't worship, he didn't bow down to the different gods. Okay, let's go to Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. We got a few more and we're going to wrap things up. Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. Ezekiel, the 8th chapter, 16th to the 18th verse.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 16. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east. And they worshiped the sun towards the east.
Right. Come on.
Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man?
What they did, they worshiped the sun. Read.
Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abomination which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger.
To anger. Come on.
And lo, they put the branch to their noses.
Come on.
Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cried in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them.
I would not hear them. So when they was worshiping the sun, you got the winged sun is found as an image of the both kings and deities across the ancient Near East. Now, this is the last scripture. Let's go to Micah 5 and 5. Book of Micah 5 and 5.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 5 and verse 5. And this man shall be with peace, when the Assyrians shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our places, then shall he
Palaces.
Then tread in our palaces, then shall we rise again him 7 shepherds. And
raised against him
7 shepherds and 8 principal men.
Right, okay. Now, it said, and this man shall be the peace when the Assyrian come into our land. Now, we're going to find out what man is this talking about, and who is the Assyrian, and who are the 7 shepherds. We ain't going to go into who, but we're going to tell you what they represent. And the 8 principal men. Okay, so now this is a future prophecy, because if you know from reading the history and chronicles and in the book of Kings and Isaiah, you knew that Assyria was the chief threat to Judah. Okay, this Assyrian took down the northern kingdom, and it took down most of Judah too. So they were a serious threat. So this is not really talking about the Assyrians. This is a metaphor speaking about the Antichrist. You know that person they talk about coming soon or coming at the end. You know that old spooky person, the Antichrist. So this is a metaphor for that. See, because that man of peace is who? Yahushua. Let's go to Isaiah 9 and 6. And look, there are other scriptures that speaks about the Assyrian, and it's a future prophecy as the Assyrian is used as a metaphor for the Antichrist. Okay, not the Antichrist with an S, but the Antichrist. Okay, Isaiah 9 and 6 and 7, Caleb, and this might be the last scripture that you're reading today.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
The Prince of Peace. It ain't talking about the popes. It's talking about the Lord and Savior Yahushua. Read on.
Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever.
Now, who's going to be sitting on the throne of David in the near future, man, in the kingdom? Yahushua, there ain't going to be no pope. There ain't going to be nobody from another nation except from the seed of David. Read on.
The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform it.
Will perform this. So we've just read. Now, the man is the ruler. He'll be the ruler in Israel, the Prince of Peace, Yahushua. He can put down any rebellion and establish perfect peace in the world. He's the only one that can do that. And like I said, the Assyrian is a metaphor for the Antichrist. Okay, Christ is going to put him down. Yahushua is going to put him down. The scripture speaks that. And then when you read about the seven men, seven is what? Perfection, perfect number, perfection. It'll be sufficient for whatever occur. 7 men. And then that eighth would be, the 8 men, it's what? More abundance. So now I don't know their names, but that 7 is perfection and the 8 is more abundance, sufficient in that time. And that man of peace is and would be Yahushua. Okay, now the Assyrians did defeat the northern kingdom, took them into captivity. Shalmaneser took Hoshea in 722 BC. Tiglath-Pileser came against Judah, came against the northern kingdom, and Sennacherib came against the northern kingdom, came against Judah. So they was a threat. They was a threat. So I can see why the Assyrian is used, that metaphor is used as Antichrist. And you can find that in, I think, Isaiah the 10th chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to end it with that. That's all my clips right there. Hezekiah Bula was the last piece of clip I was looking for. And hope y'all enjoyed. And I say shalom to the brothers and sisters that's live streaming. May you continue your Sabbath. And all praise to the Most High. Shalom.
Shalom.